You know, every time a speaker speaks here, we always say, it's so good to see your faces, but it really is. You know, we all miss kind of the person-to-person interaction, and it's just delicious to see so many of your faces today. It's great. And here we are in mid-December. And here in the Northern Hemisphere, you know, it's a time of quiet with just what I'm experiencing is really brief hours of sunlight and darkness descending like at 4:20 in the afternoon. And with all the excitement and fear of the new virus, new version of the virus, not to mention, you know, just looking at the politics here in this country. I mean, certainly the world too, but in this country, it can be so much turmoil. So at a time like this, you know, I actually kind of welcome December's darkness. It seems to be a special time of year, a time to retreat, to restore, to sit quietly and bring self to self. What do I mean by bringing self to self? Isn't it when we take time to sit still over several days, to become intimate with our own quiet, our own intelligence that's there all the time waiting to be recognized? So at this time of year, I think of it as a way to become intimate with that part of myself and allow myself to appreciate and not regret the early December sunsets and how they affect us. I think about it, is this uneasiness that I'm feeling? I look at my watch, 4:15, the sun's down. So as I always do, I go to poetry to find some respite from that uneasiness. Here's a short verse by W.S. Merwin entitled Dusk in Winter. The sun sets in the cold without friends, without reproaches, after all it has done for us. It goes down believing in nothing. When it has gone, I hear the stream running after it. It has brought its flute. It is a long way. I'll read it again. Dusk in winter. The sun sets in the cold without friends, without reproaches after all it has done for us. It goes down believing in nothing. When it has gone, I hear the stream running after it. It has brought its flute. It is a long way. That first line that has the sun setting in the cold and without friends and without reproaches. And why is the sun without friends or reproaches in the cold? Is it that the sun doesn't need friends or approval? Because as the third line says, it goes down believing in nothing. To me, this sounds like a familiar quality of mind, a quality that we find in our practice. When we allow ourselves to be alone, without our usual dependencies, our usual props. We allow ourselves to investigate the vast emptiness. We open to the deepest wisdom. We don't fear it. Instead, we sit zazen. Instead, we go on retreat. So I would say that to me, this is the joy of sitting zazen in December in the Northern Hemisphere. Here it is dark, and we don't have to believe in anything. Instead, we can be like the sun setting on a December evening, without clinging, simply setting, dropping into the dark and unknowable emptiness. And as the verse says, it goes down believing in nothing. That's a liberating line. It goes down believing in nothing. What a release. To go down, to sit zazen, to sit in the grand freedom of believing in nothing. To simply be moment by moment. To not create ideas and theories about ourselves, our minds, our whole narrative. Instead, to simply be. To simply attend to the movement of time and nature and self. Breathing in, breathing out. You and me and the sun. We just go into the darkness, believing in nothing. And then what? The next and last line for me is the clincher. I love it. When it is gone, I hear the stream running after it. It has brought its flute. It is a long way. After the quiet and after the nothingness, we hear the stream flowing. You hear it flowing along like a flute, airy, whistling, graceful, ethereal, the sound of life, continuing after the light has gone, just as our lives take up energy after a night of sleep, just as our hearts and minds respond after a period of zazen, of meditation, or even deeper, after we give ourselves a period of retreat. So this is my invitation to you to join me in quiet meditation, to join in our year-end retreat, our Zen session, to retreat to the deep quiet, a winter's retreat into the deepest reality that we can imbibe. Sit quietly and enjoy each breath just as it is in each moment. In my own experience, there's really nothing quite as fine as a winter retreat. And for half my life, I've sat a winter retreat. And I have been healed. I have been restored. And I have found joy. Slipping into those dark days, those long nights, those December retreat times. Like Merwin's poem, I have sometime entered winter retreat with a sense of some kind of inadequacy, some kind of self-criticism, some personal disappointment, despairing of my life, wanting to do more. But after a few days of sitting quietly, of bringing presence to myself and to the retreat, like the stream in Merwin's poem, I found myself again and again hearing the sounds of a flute, bringing me to a fresh sense of life, a fresh sense of my work in this world, a fresh sense of the meaning of my life. You know, this year, again, our winter retreat will be wholly online. And so it will be up to each of us to enter fully into it, to allow the winter to teach us, to enliven us. Just as the Ango text we've chosen, Shodoka, will encourage us. Those of you who are participating and those who are not able to, I still encourage you to download the Ango text, which will be the text we'll be referring to a lot in the next 3 months, so during the Ango period. And you can download it under teaching, additional teachings on our website. It's entitled Shodoka. But it begins with these lines. There is the leisurely one, walking the Tao beyond philosophy, not avoiding fantasy, not seeking truth. So evoking, there is the leisurely one, walking the Tao, beyond philosophy, not avoiding fantasy, not seeking truth. Now that's an invitation to be leisurely, to be gentle, without philosophical demands, without the demands of theory of what Zen is or our old opinions of it, but rather a curious, tender, maybe even devoted attention to the moment by moment presence of our zazen, our seated mind. To take the time of retreat is a gift that we give ourselves. We offer ourselves a time to rest, to allow the noise of the year to settle, to remember ourselves, to allow our wholeness to emerge. When I discovered Zen and Sesshin practice, I found a way to simply be with myself, with my mind, with my history, and my present moment, to be alive to my life as it is. Or as the teaching, the song of Shodoka says, not avoiding fantasy, not seeking truth. That's surprising, isn't it? In a Zen piece. A powerful line. Another translation is even more succinct. It says, not struggling against delusion or grasping after the truth. Even in the first quatrain of this song, we're encouraged to simply do zazen. You recall, zazen is seated mind, not running around mind, which I suffer from a lot, but seated mind, to stop and see, to rest in our true nature, to uncover our mind at rest. I really encourage you all, if you can possibly take the time now, when we're able to sit during these quiet winter hours in the midst of the confusion and hysteria of these times, we can turn to our meditation practice, our zazen. As Dogen Zenji said, the zazen, which I'm talking about, is not step-by-step meditation. It is simply the dharma gate of peace and comfort. The dharma gate of peace and comfort. I would call it the dharma gate of ease and joy. So I encourage you to go over the guidelines of seated meditation. It's just even more important now, since we're not together. You know, when we sit together, if you want to move, you've got someone sitting next to you and you don't want to disturb them, and so you don't move, and so your mind gets more settled and more settled and more settled. But here online, I know I'm not so disciplined, and it's much more difficult to maintain that structure and to continue to sit. But when we drop our moment-to-moment thoughts and we allow ourselves to drop into a quieter space, we can experience, you know, really, I would call a lifetime of freedom. We get a taste of what our life, what our minds, what our hearts might be without our fixed ideas, our fixed conceptions, our constraints, or what we think are our constraints. We just see each thing as it is. Free of complications, just as it is right now, not last year's thought, nor next year's thought, but just this. So I think what perfectly describes this quality of zazen mind that we can achieve if we sit quietly for over a period of time, it's like a winter tree. Here's a three-line poem of William Carlos Williams, who wrote, "Winter trees, all the complicated details of the attiring and the disattiring are completed. All the complicated details of the attiring and the disattiring are completed." We've got a great big willow outside where we live, and it's taking a long time to disattire. It's just these golden leaves, and there's not another tree in the garden that has a leaf except this willow, and it's still disattiring. It's still allowing the leaves to fall. And when I read this by William Carlos Williams, I thought of my willow, and I thought of my own mind, letting all the complicated ideas of opinion, history, drama, story, theory, all about my life, and allow that to simply drop away like those leaves falling off the willow, the disattiring, to simply sit like a winter tree, free of complication, to simply sit complete, naked as a winter tree. What a blessing. What a way to enter the new year. Can we do that? I encourage us all who can, who are able to because of various work and family commitments, I encourage you to join the winter retreat team, the group of us who will be sitting from the 26th to the 1st. And one way we can prepare for that is to take part in this afternoon's embodiment workshop that Joan Hoshi is offering. That'll allow us to move our bodies a little bit, become more in touch with our full being, You know, our minds are not, our bodies are not just our minds that are sitting off in one corner, but it's our full presence. And we do see that when we sit zazen. We do recognize that that's where we do it. We don't do it in some isolated mental space. We do it in our bodies. So I encourage you to join me this afternoon in a way of using our bodies to express creative movement. And encourage you, if you can, come to the retreat. And if you can't, sit every day during this special time. I encourage you to do that. Here's my gatha for today. Sitting in silence, moving in sound, like a tree, like an ocean, like a me right now. Thank you.